This is the route I took from Ybor City to Osceola National Park. This here is my loadout. When I was leaving Ybor City, first place I went was Spring Hill. This building here is in the back of my cousin Tina and her husband Bill's backyard. A little outdoor seating area. Anyway, that building is a little bar. It's called the Hilltop Bar, and that's where I slept when I stayed there. Typically, I sleep in bars anyway. I don't know how many bars I've slept in. This is just one more in a long line. It's a backyard bar, but still counts. Anyway, while I was there, I decided to change my tire, and it turns out I had some spokes broke on my rim. Same thing that happened on my last rim, except for this wasn't a catastrophic failure. This was only 2 or 3 spokes were broken, but it was the same rim, same brand, same company. I've already talked to JP Cycles. I'm trying to get some money back for that crappy rims they've been giving me. My cousin's husband, Bill, he had a friend that recommended MP Cycles, and I went out there. And this guy here, Marshall, that owns it. Oh, by the way, it's for sale. If anybody's interested, it's out on Highway 50 outside of Spring Hill, Florida. He's a really great guy. He ended up selling me a tire and a wheel for like 125 bucks. This is it right here. Uh, Great price. I was in a jam. I needed something quick. He helped me out. So if you ever need anything fixed, maybe MP Cycles out in Spring Hill. This here's I was about ready to load that bike and take off. This here, I didn't really get any kind of footage on my way up to Osceola because I was just trying to get there. But when I got into Osceola, I went ahead and took some of this footage. This is on the way in on the main road to Ocean Pond Campground. It's up by Lake City in northern Florida. It's a really great place. I've stayed there before. I like it. The staff, they can be, it's hit and miss, but anyway, they're okay for the most part. This here campground, I didn't get any footage from this time I was there, but this was from before. I camped right next to this camp spot this time, and it's basically the same thing. That was the primitive camping. This here is a dirt road going out the back way. If you ever do end up at that campground, you get a chance to go out the back way. It's kind of a nice drive. It goes by another campground. And that's about it for Osceola. After I left Osceola, I headed for Tallahassee. I was supposed to originally go to Panama City Beach, but Laura, who I was supposed to meet there, she needed an extra day in Atlanta, and I just laid over in Tallahassee. Nothing really eventful happened there. The next day I got up, I headed for PCB. I was going to stay there that night, and it was just so congested. I was just to hell with this, and split for Alabama. Headed across the state line, got to a place called Elba. Stayed in a hotel there, which was, this is what I found here. I don't stay in motels very often, but when I do, there's always some kind of weird shit that's going on. What the fuck? After I left Elba, I met up with Laura and we traveled to just outside of Columbus, Mississippi. On the way through Montgomery, I decided to stop and see Luke the Drifter. Well, since I was here in Montgomery, figured I'd stop and see old Hank and Audrey. When I got there, there was no one there, and then one guy, his son, showed up. It turns out he used to be a cop there in Montgomery, and he told me stories about him and a few other officers used to go out there and drink at night back in the day when you could still do that before body cams and all that. Just before I left, there was 3 or 4 other cars pulled up, and it got pretty crowded, so I just went ahead and took off. So after hooking up with Laura there in Alabama and crossing over into Mississippi, I started staying at these RV parks because she had a trailer she was pulling, and I would just set up my tent next to her trailer or roll out my bedroll, which is what I did here at this place. I just rolled it out behind her van right there. Laura's Chip's trailer. There's my bedroll for last night. We're getting ready to get back on the road. After we left Columbus, we headed for Mammoth Springs, Arkansas. If you notice here, we went way the fuck around Memphis. Neither one of us wanted to drive through there. Did have some really nice Mississippi Delta shots. It was a beautiful ride. I don't know if I've ever been in the Delta before. Probably have, but I don't remember it if I did. This here's the crossroads where supposedly Robert Johnson sold his soul to the devil. This here's the bridge going over into Arkansas, and that was I didn't really get a lot of footage of Arkansas until we got to Mammoth Springs. Here's tonight's camping spot. Laura found this. It's in a nice little kind of RV park that's in the sun right now, but this shadow is going to be over there real soon because that sun is going behind those trees. It's a nice little place. I'm not going to say exactly where it's at because I don't really want a bunch of people coming here and being full whenever I show back up to camp out again. But it's a nice little spot. It's got showers and a little bathroom. And these guys here in this tents, they're on some kind of like KLRs or something. They're obviously traveling on motorcycles, so I'm going to talk to them later. This is the route that we took from Mammoth Springs to St. Joseph, where we stayed the night. The next evening, just before Springfield, I stopped at a gas station to get some gas and ran into Ruger. He's a bartender at the Loud American during the Sturgis rally. He happened to be out in the area doing some work, and we ran into each other. Small world. In Humansville, I have a couple of really close friends, Baylor and Cece. They have a homestead that I hadn't got to see before. This is the first time I've got to stop in and see it, so I spent the afternoon with them. Baylor showed me around the property. They've got hogs, chickens. They're trying to grow their own food. They own this here strip of creek in the back. It's a little kind of half river thing. I guess they had a big flood and uprooted some trees, and Baylor was out there showing me what all happened. And it's a really nice place. One day they're going to try to do some bed and breakfast or some camping places out by the river. Think it might work out. So it was great being there. And this guy here, Baylor came with almost stepped right on him. Another step and he would have been on him, but the snake already had a fish in his mouth and he escaped back into the river. And luckily Baylor didn't get bit by it. This is the RV place we stayed in that night in St. Joseph. It was a pretty decent place. They had a little canopy for me to get under. They had washing machines, shower, bathroom that you could use. I pretty much had it all to myself because most of the people there have their own restrooms in their RVs. And there were some full-timers there and some part-timers. The next leg of the trip was from St. Joseph to Sioux City. It was pretty uneventful. We stopped at the some RV campground again in Sioux City, stayed the night. Nothing really happened. We just slept, used the restroom, got a shower, and kept moving. The next day we traveled from Sioux City through Sioux Falls to Mitchell, South Dakota. 328 miles to Sturgis, and I'm sitting in Laura's van while it rains. We've got about an hour, maybe
2 hours until it's supposed to stop, and then we're back on the road again.
You notice a little transition right there? I filmed Laura and she didn't want to be on the internet, so I had to cut that part out. Anyway, here we sit in a parking lot waiting for the rain to stop. And finally, from Mitchell to Sturgis, South Dakota. The only thing I have from that whole trip, because it was rainy, windy, cold, bitter, is I had a picture out in the middle of the Crow Creek Reservation, and I don't know where it's at, so I'm not going to show it. But like the trip to Sturgis, editing this video was a long, drawn out process, and I am finally done. So until next time, people.